Yeah, it always go live, and then when the thing actually starts, but we are live now. So welcome to another Wisco Fanatics Wednesday. We are going to be talking Badgers, Bucks, and then more Badgers today. So a lot of Wisconsin Badger talks. I got my Badgers quarter zip shirt on, but just so everybody knows, we're going to let everybody know at the top of the show, we're not doing any Packers. Posted on the page that we're going to do all of it tomorrow. If you don't already know, is the live show at the Green Bay Parker Johns. So if you're in Wisconsin and you feel like driving to Green Bay, or if you're in the Green Bay area, come and check us out. It's going to be all Packers tomorrow. Nothing about the Packers. So we're not doing any Packers discussion today. Tomorrow's going to be all about the Packers. There's lots of stuff going on today, and Jake and I are going to do everything we can. We're going to go everywhere we can on the internet and figure out everything that we can about what's going on in Green Bay, figuring out what situations are going to be, who's all going to be affected, who's going to be in, who's going to be out. And we're going to get as much information as we can and put that all out there. And then we're going to have some fun. We're going to do some giveaways. We're going to do some trivia. We're going to have a live pie bet. So it's going to be a lot of fun tomorrow and should be really informative and entertaining. So, and then if you're in the area, come to the Green Bay Parker Johns and hang out with us. I mean, you can come see us in person, maybe get a giveaway. And then, we're going to be giving away, I got like lanyards and stickers and pins, and we're going to have 2 sets of fan locks to give away and a $25 gift certificate to Parker Johns. So we got lots of stuff to give away tomorrow. And, and get some good food in the process. So, come hang out with us tomorrow. Tomorrow is going to be all Packers discussion, but today we're going to start with the Badgers, and we're going to start with Badgers football. So, Jake, let's talk about the Badgers win over Iowa.
Man, first thing, I want to pump my chest a little bit here. We did score predictions last week. I wrote down 27-13, and the game ended 27-7, so I guess I was giving a little bit too much respect to Iowa.
Yeah, me too, I guess.
Yeah, I always write yours down too because we're always so close.
Yeah.
But Wisconsin absolutely dominated this game. I know you're going to have the advanced numbers because we were texting the other day, so I'm going to leave those for you. But I wrote down some of the key things that happened. I mean, Mertz looked improved. He didn't look great. He doesn't ever have to be great.
The word that I wanted to use for Mertz was confident.
Yeah.
That's the word I wanted to use. Continue.
I would say that. The pass he threw to who am I thinking of? Ferguson in the end zone. I mean, that was a nice touch pass. That's the kind of stuff that he's been missing on all year. And it's just like, dude, if you just hit one of those every once in a while, they're not gonna be able to put 11 people in the box, you know? So I mean, he hit that pass, but it was still the Braylon Allen and Ches Malusi show. Allen with 20 carries. And Malusi with 19 carries, so they were almost 50-50 split. Allen was definitely more effective. I'll say that right now. He had 104 yards. He had the same amount of yards as Mertz, but everybody knows if you watch the Wisconsin Badgers, what really gets us going is the defense. And it's those 3 linebackers, man. I mean, I know Burks is pretty good. I mean, Noah Burks is pretty good too. He's in that linebacker group, but Chanel, Sanborn, Herbig, those are the guys. You know, when you play the Badgers and you're watching film on them and you just see those 3 dudes just running around getting sacks, getting tackles for loss, getting forced fumbles. And I just wrote down the sacks for all those 3, right? Chanel and Sanborn each had a half a sack. Herbig 2.5. So they combined for 6 or 3.5 of the 6. I wrote down the teams. So they were 3.5 of our 6 sacks. Tackles for loss, Chanel had 2. Sanborn had 1.5, and Herbig, he had the best game of them all. He had 2.5. So they had 6 of the 10 tackles for loss. Those guys are just amazing, dude. Chanel was just named. I mean, there was a post. He was just named for – you could finish that sentence. You were
that's the Dick Butkus Award.
Yeah,
for the best linebacker in the country.
Which, I mean, I said last week he was number 1 rated linebacker on Pro Football Focus. So – the defense really dominated this game. We recovered 3 fumbles. So we won the turnover 3-0 again, back-to-back weeks of winning the turnover rate. And Mertz, like you said, looked confident, making a couple passes. And it is what it is, man. The Badgers look like they're back on track.
All right, so we got a couple comments. One from James, who is really excited about the Saints, and one from Tim, who is mind blown about Michael Thomas. So, that's a couple things. That's totally different discussion. But we're talking about the Badgers, and there was a lot going on here. So those linebackers, the defense itself has started using the term the grit factory. They made their hat that they had. They call it the grit factory. Definitely. Scott Nelson was talking about it. He's like, I made it as kind of like a joke thing. And he's like, now I'm going to have to keep that. It's going to be like a centerpiece now. It's going to be a piece of memorabilia. Now I'm going to have to keep it. And I feel like I don't want to do anything with it. So we have the grit factory on defense, and I want to keep using the death row linebackers. I love that. That's so cool. Mike Jodar, who's going to be on the show with us in a little bit when we start talking about Badgers basketball, he said both Chenal and Sanborn should be All-Americans when all is said and done. Right now, I mean, I don't see how you could say they aren't. They're both just insane. I mean, you add Sanborn 7 tackles, Herbig 6 tackles, Chenal 9 tackles. Herbig had the forced fumble. I mean, that was just a beautiful play to get around the lineman and just slap the ball right out of his hand. That was fantastic. I saw a sports radio guy. He made a post, and it was that the Badgers should have been up 35-0 after the point where they got stopped on 4th down, and they had a field goal inside the 20. What I said was, at the most, it could be maybe 24, maybe 28, because that second, if they don't get stopped on 4th and goal, they don't get that second fumble recovery at the 1 yard line. So that's, if they score on the first one, then they're not in that inside the 5 yard line for the second one. So that's why I said maybe 24 to 28-0, not quite 35, but it was 20-0 at halftime. Iowa only had 17 yards in the first half. The death row linebacker is on full display, and this was crazy. This is one of the things that I told you, was that Iowa was down 17-0 before they had positive yardage.
That I know, dude. We were texting on Saturday. That's insane, dude. We literally smacked them around.
They were down 20-0 before they converted their first down.
Yep, we talked about dude.
That's insane. That's insane. 17-0 before you've gained positive yardage, and 20-0 before you've gotten a first down. Like you're just in a pit, just looking up, and it's the edge just has to be way in the distance.
Yeah. How do you mentally pull yourself out of that as a team?
I mean, especially when you have no rhythm. I don't know.
And these guys are still coming to hit you in the mouth. You know that for a fact. The other guys are just pumped up. So how do you rally your guys, dude? I don't know, man. It's crazy, man.
So Iowa went from number 2 to number 19 in, I mean, technically it's a span of 3 weeks, but 2 games because they had the bye in between. They've been outscored 51-14 in their last 2 games.
Dude, I knew when Purdue put the smackdown on them in their own house, I was like, there is no way in hell Iowa's coming to us and they're going to beat us. And all I heard was, Wisconsin's a 3-loss team. The Penn State loss, that sucked. That one, that's a 50-50. I really think we should have won that game. I mean, the wheels just came off in the Notre Dame game. And Michigan, we lost that game. That's the one that I'm really willing to swallow because we were competitive in the Notre Dame game, You
said it really well, I think it was last week, where you said that if that Penn State game is played in the 3rd week of the season, we probably win it. But because it was the opening game, that makes that a tougher. So that's part of that discussion of should they open with a conference opponent or non-conference opponent. Do you want those tune-up games before you get to your big games like the Badger basketball? They have some of those tune-up games. They play like the Bethune-Cookmans and the Eastern Arkansas and all that stuff before they get into their conference schedule. But a lot of the players were talking post game about they were confident they were going to win this game. They were confident they were going to win the Purdue game. They're confident they're going to win games going forward. And they felt like after the loss to Michigan that they weren't what their record suggested that they were, and that the team is made of guys who are all there for each other. And it seems that way, that they're all tight knit, and they're ready to help each other out, to have each other's backs, and to just basically keep fighting is what they say. And the couple of things, Jake already kind of touched on the turnovers. For me, the keys were just don't beat yourself. Don't turn over the ball and don't commit penalties. And Iowa's touchdown was set up by a pass interference call. That's, if you can limit that stuff, that's really where we're going to get into blowout territory. Had Courtney throwing out that Lily sent me a message during the show. Say hi to Lily.
Hi, Lily. How you doing?
All right. So, credit to Jack Sanborn and Scott Nelson for getting a big stop on 4th and 1 during the fourth quarter, and then it was basically the Braylon Allen show. Braylon Allen took that game and really sealed it up and took any wind out of the sails that Iowa could have potentially had. And then after the second Mertz touchdown, the Badgers really just went into killing clock mode, and that's pretty much how that went. So, what else do you want to say about the defense?
I don't know. She said good. Well, that's good. Hey, you're having a good day. Hey, you keep doing your homework, kid. I just made my stepson do his homework, and he did not.
She's in first grade. She doesn't have a ton of homework.
I mean, the homework in third grade is pretty easy too, but to these kids, it's like mind-numbing, I guess. But it is what it is. The defense. What can we say that we haven't said, man? I mean, they're coming with the mentality that they're gonna shut you down. And we've talked about this plenty of times. I mean, now we only gave up 7 to Iowa. We have 2 games where we gave up 7, a game where we gave up 0. And then we have those couple games where turnovers really allowed the other team to score a lot of points. I really don't think people can score on us like that if we're not turning the ball over, giving them gifts.
One of them was a special teams touchdown.
Right. Like if the offense is doing their thing, controlling the clock and putting up some points, I'm not even saying that they have to put up 20. But I honestly feel confident against bigger teams. Like if we don't turn the ball over and playing a clean game, I think we can win against some big-time teams with scoring 17, 14. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. That's why I predicted this one 17-13. That's,
I really feel that way. This defense is just so good. The front 7, I mean, we haven't even mentioned Benton up front, 95. That guy does Benton, a lot, dude. He takes up a lot of blockers. And he's like that Kenny Clark on that defense, where he has the ability to not just take away the run; he can get after the quarterback.
That's a good parallel to make. The defensive lines of both of these teams. Keanu Benton being the Kenny Clark, and then Matthew Henningsen kind of doing the Dean Lowry type stuff. So that's a good parallel to make.
I mean, this defense is big time, and I've been talking a lot of smack with a lot of Ohio State guys on the internet, a lot of Michigan State guys, and I'm gonna ask Mikey when he gets on. I'm gonna ask Big B, my cousin, when they come on talk Badgers basketball. We'll wrap it up, but I'm gonna ask them who they'd rather see, because I fully expect the Badgers to be in the Big Ten championship game. They just got to win a couple of games against some lesser Big Ten opponents. I mean, we got Rutgers this week. We'll talk about that.
Yeah, we'll talk.
It's not gonna be close, but I'm wondering. You guys can comment in here too. Who would you guys rather see? Would you rather see a Michigan State who's on fire right now? They have a Heisman Trophy, runner in the running back, or would you rather see, Ohio State? I mean, we'll see what's going on, but I'd rather see Ohio State.
I personally would rather see Michigan State just to mix it up, just because it's kind of boring seeing Ohio State all the time, just because they always have top recruits. So I'd rather see Michigan State shake it up a little bit.
I hear you. I want to see Ohio State because I think our defense is so good that I think we could actually embarrass them. We owe them. We owe them, dude. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, that's true. All right. So as far as the defense is concerned, it started off 3 straight 3-and-outs, and then a forced fumble, a 3-and-out, and then Iowa down 20-0 was basically the first half. Second half was they had their touchdown drive. They had 3 turnover on downs and 2 punts for a total of 139 yards. They did nothing. Leo Chenal was asked about Iowa winning the toss and electing to receive the kick. And I love this quote. He said, "We saw they wanted the ball. We were like, okay, we're going to show you that's not a good decision."
Love it. Love it. See, that's the confidence thing I'm talking about with this defense, dude. They literally want to be on the field for 60 minutes because they just love hitting people, man. And that's what I love, man. That's how I felt too. Like when I put my helmet on, man, I was like, "Hi, man, you ain't gonna like having the ball, so I'm about to smack the hell out of you. You gonna be hurting." That's what I love, dude. Oh
so
my God.
speaking of hurting, and this goes with the grit factory part of it, is Jack Sanborn had a cut in his finger that required stitches, and he finished out the game before going to get stitches.
Yeah,
that's grit factory right there.
Yeah, I was
that's grit.
That's a tough son of a bitch. That's what I said. That is a tough son of a bitch. Man. Yeah, that was crazy when I heard that.
Yeah, and you mentioned Noah Burks, got in on sacks, and I read an article about Jim Leonhard with his defensive philosophy, and this is something that has spread throughout the entire defense. They all say it to each other. They all say it during games, during practice, and the motto basically of the defense is "do it again." So this is everything that they do. You do it well, do it again. You make a big play, do it again. You get a tackle for loss, do it again. You get an interception, do it again. You get a pass defense, do it again. All these things that the Badgers do well, they all keep themselves, in the moment by, recognizing, you did this well, and then keeping themselves from getting complacent by saying, now go do it again. And I think that's a really great mindset to have, because you're never saying, we just beat a team that was top 10 in the country. Now we go play Rutgers. We're going to, whatever. That keeps you from falling into a trap game. And that's something that I feel like in the past, maybe not so much the last couple of years. I mean, last year was a weird year and the year before too. But, in the past, I feel like the Badgers have had these trap games. And we talked about it with Purdue and Iowa. And, Northwestern is a good one too. Like, Badgers can kind of mentally overlook opponents, and this do it again philosophy, I feel like, I'm not saying it's 100% cure for something like that, but it's a thought process that can kind of prevent them from falling into some of those traps by having the mindset of always looking forward to making the next big play and looking forward to always doing things right, and then recognizing it and say, go do it again. So I like that philosophy, and that's something that Jim Leonhard has implemented since training camp. And I just wanted to share that. So
I'm gonna get pretty deep here, but if you're struggling to save money, that is, or anything in life, you could take that quote and you can apply it literally anywhere in life. And that is part of the reason why I love sports, because discipline, hard work, that's stuff that I've taken away from sports that I've applied to my daily life. So if you have a good month and you save $1,000, okay, pat yourself in the back and go do it again. That's how rich get richer. Keep doing that same mindset and repeat that. That's how people, when people are overweight and they lose a ton of weight, they apply that. Okay, I had a good month. Now let me do it again. Do it again. Do it again. That is how winners win. So I love that, man. That really just hit me in the feels. Oh man, it really did hit me in the feels, man. Hey, go do it again. I mean, we're growing this show, and we pat ourselves in the back and we get more followers. By the way, don't forget to share and invite your friends. But
shameless plug there, bud.
we're gonna do it over and over again, man. We're just gonna keep doing it. But man, that was awesome. I'm really looking forward to watching them beat the shit out of Rutgers now.
All right, you have anything else you want to talk about the offense?
No, man, he just got me in my feelings.
I guess I should have led with the offense and saved the defense for last and just left it at that. But Mertz started off 8 for 9 in this game. Looked like he was playing confident at the 2 rushing touchdowns, the passing touchdown, which, credit to Paul Chryst, that was a beautiful play call. The Iowa's entire defense sold out to stop the run, and Ferguson was just standing in the back of the end zone by himself. It was a good throw by Mertz. He had to put it up a little bit high so it didn't get batted down at the line. It was fine. Ferguson caught it. You're good. I saw people complaining that he almost threw Ferguson, and it's like, really, you're gonna really nitpick with Graham Mertz right now?
For real, dude.
Like he's done so many shoot yourself in the foot things, and now he's finally starting to get right, and you're gonna nitpick that?
He threw a touchdown pass, but it wasn't pretty, so it's not good.
It wasn't, yeah. it was only 88% accuracy, so why wasn't it 100? Like, why is Graham Mertz not Aaron Rodgers at 20 years old?
Yeah, uh-huh.
So that rubbed me the wrong way a little bit, but that's not what we're here for. So we got to give the offensive line some credit.
Hey, they're healthy now.
We talked bad about the offensive line for probably 3 weeks straight because they weren't getting any push. So Malusi had some bad games where he was basically getting 1-yard runs and
running into people.
Yeah, and he had nowhere to go because teams could stack the box. So now it feels like the whole team has some breathing room. I should say the offense has some breathing room collectively where they feel like they can move the ball a little bit. Danny Davis was big this week. And, Malusi, he's still kind of slow to get going, but Braylon Allen, he's doing it all. He had a nice spin move this week, so he's showing off some finesse to go with his power. He's going to be real good for another 2 years until he goes to the NFL.
Yep, and then when he's drafted in the first round, and he's the next Jonathan Taylor. Can't wait for that.
He might be the next human pinball machine, Aaron Jones. Shout out to Josh, our Packer buddy.
Yeah, man, we got to get him on pretty soon.
yeah, we haven't had him on for a while. But what I want to say about Mertz is that even though he cooled off in the second half, what he didn't do was turn the ball over.
Yep.
No turnovers from Graham Mertz this week. That is a big step in the right direction. And if he plays a whole game the way he played the first half, I mean, Graham Mertz would look great. He'd have a great game. I mean, he had a really good game, but, I mean, he could be really great, and then you cut out those mistakes. And that's where we get into blowout territory. When you can cut out those mistakes, you can stay hot, stay doing the right things, keep the balance with the offense. That's where we're going to get into blowout territory with the Badgers and back to more of the ways that you expect Badger football to play, even though we are usually a quarterback short of making it to a college football playoff type situation.
Maybe next year. I mean, if we get enough people back, but we got 4 more games this year at least in the regular season where we get. Hopefully, we keep seeing Mertz grow. That's the only thing that I got, I guess, is hopefully he just keeps growing. Yeah.
So the last 4 games, the Badgers averaging 5.4 yards per carry. That's a pretty solid clip, and that's credit to the offensive line for being better. And then just for Chez Malusi and Braylon Allen, their dynamic feels a lot better since Jalen Berger was dismissed from the team. It's unfortunate that Isaac Garendo got injured, but now it feels like they know their roles a little bit better. And I mean, with Chez Malusi being a transfer and Braylon Allen, being like a rookie basically, it seemed like it took a little bit for guys to know their roles a little bit, and it feels now that they have, they're going to get basically even carries and, do what you can with your carries. And Braylon Allen is doing what he can, and Chez Malusi is doing what he can. They're both doing good things. But question came in is, do we think that the Badgers stick with Graham Mertz next year? And for me, it's absolutely. It's 100% yes. I mean, he's a redshirt sophomore, so last year doesn't count towards his eligibility. So basically, I have him for 2 more years yet, and that's if he decides to leave the program. So, I mean, we have him for 2 more years for sure, potentially 3. I mean, he's gonna want to keep progressing. So
yeah. I mean, he's not going anywhere. Paul Chris isn't going anywhere for 1. We have both our top running backs. One's a sophomore, one's a freshman coming back. We have a young offensive line. We always get offensive line recruits. He's not going to get these big bulls everywhere.
Yep.
But I think Mertz. Man, Tyler, you really nailed it on the head. His confidence is really, really growing these last couple of weeks, and you could tell by the way he stands in the pocket and the way he's firing, and you could just tell he's kind of a different player than he was because he was really getting knocked around. I mean, the media was killing him. We were killing him a little bit, and I mean, we try to refrain from that kind of stuff, but it was like, man, I was getting frustrated to watch.
Gotta keep it realistic, though.
Yeah, I mean, he looked bad for the first 3 out of the 4 weeks. I mean, he didn't really have to throw a pass against Eastern Michigan because we were going to kill them anyways. But he looked bad the first month of the season. He's really progressed and looked better. And for Bucks fans that are getting a little discouraged right now, keep this Badgers football team in your mind because, we're not even 10 games into the freaking season, and everybody's freaking this. Like, dude, we'll get there.
We're gonna get into that. Yeah,
I'm pretty frustrated with how people are talking about the Bucks, because they're
I
chirping.
agree.
Okay, congratulations, Chicago. You're 6-1. I mean,
heading into November, that's cool.
Yeah, we'll get there. We'll get there.
Yeah, we'll get there.
I'm ready for that. But yes, he stays. I'm thinking about the Bucks all day, dude.
He did miss Ferguson on a 3rd and 9, overthrew him just a little bit, and that's an experience thing. Danny Davis and Kendrick Pryor are both going to be gone next year. They're both like super seniors. I'm not sure. I think Jake Ferguson's a junior, if I'm not mistaken. He might be
no.
Is he a sophomore or is he a junior? Senior?
I think he's a senior. I think he only came back for one more season. He did like the Brad Davison thing.
Okay. So but Kemery Dike is a sophomore for sure. I know that for a fact. Kemery Dike is a sophomore, so he has a receiver that he can grow with. And one other tight end that we want to mention is Clay Cundiff. He got hurt on Saturday. He had to be ambulance off. He was released from the hospital on Saturday night, so he is he's okay. He's not probably not coming back this season. I didn't have an official injury designation. They don't have to disclose that in college like they do in the NFL. But Clay Cundiff was released from the hospital on Saturday night. So that's the last thing I had for the Badgers offense.
I follow a Badgers page. I'll have to find out which one it is. But his mom actually wrote something in there and talked about how she appreciated everybody showing him love and supporting him and stuff like that. So I thought that was pretty cool. Hey, Wisconsin, we love our sports. We support our people, and we're not dirty like Vikings fans and don't cheer for injuries.
Dude, oh my. I saw somebody. It was a Bears fan.
Okay.
And it happened during the Cardinals game when Tonyan got injured. He's like, "Oh, Robert Tonyan's out. Like, that's good." It's like, really?
Come on.
Cheering for my literal response was cheering for injuries. ... Be better. There's that's one thing that we will come hard on one stance on one side, and we will not falter on that, and that's cheering for injuries. Like if you cheer for opposing teams getting injured, like, don't follow our show. That's never a good thing because sure, free agents can choose where they go, and as college athletes you can choose where you go, but if you get drafted by the Vikings, like that sucks for you because you're not on the Packers, which would be cool, but we don't cheer for people to get injured. They're still people. And not only that, even when you get to the sports aspect of it, is you want to beat other teams when they're at their best so that you can say you beat them when they're at their best. If the Chiefs beat the Packers this weekend, they're going to be like, "Oh, well, they didn't have Aaron Rodgers." That is what it is. Nobody's going to be like, "Yeah, Aaron Rodgers has COVID. Yeah, I'm excited. I hope he dies because he has COVID."
Right.
Like, don't do that. I don't care who you're a fan of. Don't cheer for injuries. That's never okay.
And look at James' comment right now. He said, after the Saints game, I had to deal with at least 2 Bucks fans celebrating Winston's injury. And that's terrible. You should never cheer.
Nope.
We got our asses handed to us by the Saints. We could come out and say that. Everybody knows.
Yep.
I'm not going to cheer for Jameis Winston to tear his ACL. Do I like to pick on him for the eating the W thing and the crab legs? And yeah, I like to pick on him for the goofy stuff he does. He's a goofy dude.
Dude, it's
I don't cheer for anybody to tear their ACL, dude. That's
exactly. At that point, you just tell people to be better and then ignore them. Just like Justin Fields is a good example. Like, we're not cheering for anybody to be injured. So we're not cheering for Justin Fields to be injured. Like, yeah, we want him to play poorly so we can, make fun of Bears fans for thinking that they're on their fourth consecutive draft savior. But it's. But we're not cheering for anybody to get injured.
Right.
So,
I was gonna say about Fields. I was gonna say I would rather him not get hurt. I want him to play his way out of a starting role. That's what I want. I don't want him to get hurt. I want him to stay completely 100% healthy and remain the turnover machine that he is. That's what I want.
All right. So, Jake, I have a little surprise for you.
Oh, boy. Oh! In the building!
What up?
What's up, Jodar?
What's up, buddy?
All right, you joined. You're lucky. We were right at the tail end of talking about the Badgers in Iowa, and we're gonna let you give a little bit of an update really quick, and then you have to pay the Pied Piper with pie.
Pay the piper, huh? Yeah. Yeah, that was not a good game. That was not a good game. Your defense is legit. I literally stopped watching it after halftime. We got our first down. I'm like, Jesus. So like I kind of gave up. Yeah, you guys dominated us. So I got these pies right here. But
2, yes.
Hey, I'm a man of my words. So all
right. So we didn't want to just bring you in and tell you to take pies in the face and then and shoo you off right away. We had you on to talk about some boxing and some UFC stuff, and you said you wanted to let people know some stuff that happened recently and some stuff that's coming up quick. So, just give some people some things to watch out for in the world of professional fighting.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, for the last month or so, the UFC's kind of been riding the coattails, just hanging back a little bit. And these big fights are coming now. So, I mean, they got a roster of over 700 guys. So they got to put a lot of cards together. So a lot of these cards in the past month have been fight night cards or they're free on ESPN Plus. But we got a big banger last weekend. It was a stacked card, the top 3 fights. The first one was the Islam Makhachev versus Dan Hooker. Islam was a huge favorite, as most people would have guessed, right? So Islam's little backstory is he's grown up, but he's cousins with Khabib Nurmagomedov, who is one of the greatest ever, and kind of grew up under the lineage of that. He was a huge favorite against Dan Hooker. Dan Hooker's been around the UFC for a long time. So if you're a betting man, a lot of people took that bet on Dan Hooker because he was, I think, like a plus 250 to a minus 650 or something like that. So the money was really, really good. So a lot of people pushed with Hooker, and so did I. Didn't last very long. Took Hooker right down right away, proved that he is going to be the next champion, finished him within the first minute or two, made it look easy. So be on the lookout for Islam Makhachev. Be on the lookout for all the Dagestani and Russians. They're coming like crazy, and there's nothing anybody can do about it. I look at him as your UFC champion at 155 pounds very, very soon. Probably early 2022, he's going to have that shot. So he is a little, he's not quite seasoned yet. So that's kind of the drag there is he ready for that? But he proved Saturday night that he most definitely is ready for that. So next big fight was Petr Yan and Corey the Sandman Sandhagen. These two guys are the most high level at 135 there really is in the world. It showcased that fight was everything that everybody wanted. So Petr Yan was the champion for, about a year. And then he had lost it to Aljamain Sterling. So when he lost it to Sterling, it was an illegal knee. So everybody's kind of, saying Sterling's not the real champ, and Petr Yan showed us why he really is the champ. That fight Saturday was for the interim belt. So basically whoever wins that gets a shot at the real unified title next. So who wrote that?
That's our buddy Isaac.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I got you. Islam is a beast. Yeah. Islam's definitely going to be the next, the champion for probably as long as he wants. With his comparisons to Khabib's a little bit better on the ground, but Islam's a lot better striker. And Islam's ground game still a 10 out of 10. So good luck with anybody. Charles Oliveira is the champion right now. He's an amazing jiu-jitsu black belt who submits a lot of people. So he kind of possesses the skills, if anybody, to beat Islam. But back to the Petr Yan fight. I mean, Petr showed why he's the champion. He's going to get Aljo back for the the title here soon. Hopefully, we got TJ Dillashaw coming off a win against Corey Sandhagen. So nobody's lost real stock, but the real champion in my eyes is Petr Yan. And they're going to run that back with Aljamain Sterling. Once Aljo gets done with the surgery, kind of heals back up. And the main event was Glover Teixeira versus Jan Blachowicz. So Jan's been the champ. He's defended it a few different times now since John Jones vacated that 205 belt. Jan's been the guy. He's got the Polish power. I'll fight you on the gravel pit. The gravel pit.
You'll be in the pit of the gravel. Knock it off, man.
I will take Curtis in less than 2 minutes.
Yeah, easily. Tish already knows that. He don't
Dude,
want
Curtis versus Tish is like the Packers facing the Buccaneers without Aaron Rodgers. It ain't gonna be good.
Yeah, he knows it. He don't want it, but yeah, that title fight was awesome, man. Glover's been around for a super long time. He's 42 years old and just became a champion. You know, that's amazing at the highest level. So good to see that for Glover. He had some visa issues early on in his career, couldn't get into the UFC, you know, couldn't get over from Brazil to the United States. And so for him to bounce back after all those years and at 42 years old, becoming the oldest champion ever was amazing. And so I just kind of wanted to touch base. I thought those are big ones this weekend. It's full of fights. I know Wisconsin even has a good fight card, a local fight card. It's got one of my old teammates on it versus one of Sheboygan's very own, Nasty Nate Jennerman. So that'll be a cool fight if you guys live around there and you want to get into fighting. The best way to really feel that atmosphere is to get out to one of those shows because that's where everybody comes from, man. That's why they have all these Dana White Contender Series. They're grabbing guys from shows like that, giving them a chance and giving them a contract. So, and then the boxing fight this weekend is Canelo versus Caleb Plant. That's a great one. Canelo is pound for pound the greatest boxer in the world right now. Caleb Plant is undefeated. He is a weight class above, so Canelo is going to challenge that. Caleb's got a crazy story. He lost his daughter 5 days after she was born. She had 100 seizures a day. She made it to about 20 months old, and the last thing he said is your dad will become a world champion, which he is a world champion, but it's just a super cool story. They had gotten to an altercation at the weigh-ins. Both threw a punch. Caleb caught one on the eye pretty well there, so that'll be a great fight this weekend. And then the UFC card is absolutely stacked. We have Kamaru Usman and Colby Covington is the main event for the title. That one's a rematch. The first fight was amazing. They went back and forth, traded all the way to the fifth and final round before Usman took him out. So rematch there. Colby Covington's the Donald Trump guy. He's make America great again. He is the American fighter. He bleeds it out, talks a lot of shit. Like we talked before with the Floyd Mayweather thing, people come to watch you lose or they come to watch you win. Colby's making a shit ton of money. So people are probably going to try to watch him lose. He will be the underdog, but by not by much. So that'll be a really good fight. And then Thug Rose Namajunas does the rematch with Zhang Wei Li for the 125 title. Yeah, 125. Little Thug Rose, man. You ever have a sport moment where it just gives you chills to your body? You almost just want to break down, like it just brings something to you. When I watch Thug Rose fight, man, it sends every chill through my body. She finished Zhang Wei Li the last time they fought for the title in like 20 seconds with the head kick, knocked her out cold. So we'll see how this changes things. You know, Zhang coming over from China is now training in Arizona with Henry Cejudo, gold medalist in wrestling. So we'll see if that has anything to do with it. Thug Rose has some of the best stand-up, and do not doubt her ground game with her jiu-jitsu. She is one of the top level at that as well. So some good fights, man. The last weekend was amazing. This weekend we got a lot of good stuff. You know, we got Logan Paul, Mike Tyson might be coming up. I don't know what, you know, I'll have to get a little bit more information on that shit show before I start to dissect it. Is it a sparring match? Is it not? I don't know. So we got some stuff. Jake Paul is finally taking on a real contender, and in the Tyson Fury's brother, his younger brother, who's also 7-0, same weight class. He is a professional boxer. I still think Jake takes that fight and knocks his head off, to be honest with you. But it's the perfect storm for him. People want him to fight somebody his size, a real boxer, somebody that's got a good record, and he falls into all those areas there. So yeah, it's just a perfect scenario, man. And I really think he can beat him. And I know Jake obviously thinks that too. So he's gonna shut up the haters. He even, you know, went at Dana White and said, "Hey, Daddy Dana, look at this. I'm fighting a real guy." So a lot of good stuff coming up. ESPN Plus, if you guys have that, most of these fights are on ESPN Plus for free. So it's a good way. You know, that platform has helped a lot of people watch these fights because not everybody can afford it and pay for those types of pay-per-views. So that's it, guys. I wanted to get that to you guys quick. I know we got a lot coming up. I don't know if you guys talk Packers yet. That's going to be interesting this weekend. I still got faith in my boy.
That's our live show tomorrow, actually. We're doing one at the Green Bay Parker John. So tomorrow is going to be all Packers.
And you're not the only person getting pied this week. My dad's getting pied tomorrow by Aiden.
Oh, for what?
Because he lost
the hot dog eating contest. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not going to lie to you. I got these pie ideas from Pat himself. So Better lose this. I'm gonna put on my Aaron Jones shades here.
If you pull out a sombrero and take this pie, I'll lose my shit.
What do you want me to do? Add some more?
Fucking pie it up, girl. She's
Give it to
loving this,
himself.
by the way, you motherfucker. She's my friend.
Okay, ready?
No, but yeah.
Don't give him a warning.
What do you mean?
Oh my god.
Yeah,
I
know
gotta
that.
lather it up some more.
Hey. Tyler doesn't know that feeling yet.
Yeah, girl.
Tyler doesn't know that feeling. Oh, 2 in 1 day. Oh, that boy. Hey. That one movie? That good movie, bro. Where you had the little windshield wipers, bro.
You look like Mrs. Doubtfire right now.
Right? Chris, I
What's up,
appreciate
guys?
it. That was awesome, dude.
Hey, I appreciate it, guys. I'm gonna have to get you guys back on this shit. Sons of bitch.
You get
It's recording now, so cool.
College basketball's coming up, buddy. We could do something.
I was gonna say, yeah, maybe.
Go Hawks! Go Hawks, motherfuckers! Ah, damn. Jordy is now full of crap, and for you that don't know him, that is my dog, Mr. Jordy. Holy,
Named him after Jordy Nelson.
you betcha, pal.
Chelsea sounds like she's having a great time.
All right, go Pack, boys. Shit.
All right. Thanks, buddy.
All right.
Appreciate
Thanks for joining us, and we'll talk soon.
All right, buddy. Take it easy.
That went well. I can't believe he took 2. I really can't believe he took.
That's good stuff. Chelsea did a good job of only getting on one side of his face on the first one, and then came and hit him on the other side for the second one. So kudos to Chelsea for nailing that.
No, next year when we do this, just hit him with both right in the middle of the face. Really spread it around. You know?
And no warning. I like your dad kind of gave you a warning. He gave you like a countdown, and then like your second one, I told Cece, I'm like, don't even give him a warning. Just hit him in the face with it. Like, you got to hit him unexpected. So
I'm still going to talk about this, okay? My dad gave me a warning, but he gave me a 4.8 out of 10 on the Richter scale to my face. Like, my neck, I swear to God, I can't sleep right, bro. He was talking to me the other day. He was like, hey, tell Aiden not to smash me. I was like, I will. I'm like, I'll be the dummy for when people smash pies, okay? Because I know how it messes up your neck and your whole sleep schedule. And I'm just talking, man. I'm kidding.
all right. So that was good timing. So now we get to go into Badgers and Rutgers preview. We'll run through this quick. We are going to talk about the Bucks. We're not going to get super in depth with it just because there's not a ton to talk about. So let's do this Badgers versus Rutgers preview, and then we'll talk about the Bucks, and then we are going to get to our Badgers primer. So, let's talk Badgers Rutgers.
All right, let me just go through it all. We're on a little time limit here. First of all, this game is going to be on Big Ten Network, 2:30 in the afternoon on Saturday. If you're looking to watch it, Big Ten Network is your station. Over/under is 37.5, and Wisconsin is minus 11.5. So
Might actually take that over, honestly.
yeah, the bet. I mean, my score, I went over. Wisconsin is favored by quite a bit. I think, I looked up their leading passer, Noah. He has 1,412 yards, 61.8 completion percentage, 7 touchdowns, 3 picks. Nothing super impressive. Their leading running back, 116 carries, 420 yards. He only averages 3.6 yards per carry and 3 touchdowns. He ain't doing shizzy against our defense. I'll tell you that right now. Badgers are going to stop the run. They're going to force them to beat us with the pass. In the rushing game, on defense, they give up 143 per game. So they're already giving up 143. They have to go against us, who average 212 per game. We know the recipe. Who said it last week? It was Faion Hicks. He talked about how we're going to play good defense and we're going to run the dang ball. Wisconsin football, baby. That is going to be the MO for the rest of the year. It's been the MO for this 4-game winning streak. That's what we're about. We're going to run the ball. We're going to play good defense. For me, I'll give you my score prediction right away since we're just trying to run through this real quick. My score prediction is 35-7. I think this is a relatively easy game.
You're so weird.
Dude, there'll be – I'm getting my pen ready for yours because I always write down your score prediction. But it's going to be a relatively easy game. We're going to run the ball. We're going to play some defense. We're going to sack the quarterback. Hopefully we force a couple turnovers, and we move on to next week. That's what I'm looking for.
All right. Well, I'll just throw it out there right away. My score prediction is 33-9. So we are really close again, within 2 points on both teams. It's really weird how often that happens. Rutgers has 4 wins this season.
Yep.
Temple, Syracuse, Delaware, and Illinois. Those are their 4 wins.
Yep.
Badgers should have no problem running the ball in this game, and Rutgers doesn't pressure the quarterback on defense. So Mertz can take his time. He doesn't need to rush. I mean, obviously I want to get the timing and the rhythm, but he doesn't need to rush throws. He can take his time. The offensive line, we just talked about it, has been better. So this is something I hammer on with the Packers all the time, but the Badgers need to be better on third down too. I mentioned we talked about Iowa. They had some extra chances where they came away with 3 instead of 7. And, that's something that the Badgers can look to improve on, even though they just beat a top 10 team. So they do still have things to work on. Obviously, limiting the turnovers and penalties is part of that as well. Yeah. So I threw a couple things out there. The Badgers have the number 1 defense in the country. So there's that. The Badgers in Big Ten play have allowed the least amount of points by a pretty big margin. The Badgers have only allowed 74 points in Big Ten play.
Wow.
Number 2 is Penn State with 86.
And they gave up a shizzy in that Michigan game, too. Wow.
So, and then this is on the flip side of that. Rutgers in Big Ten play has only scored 66 points.
Ugh. Yeah.
So my 9 points for Rutgers might have been a little generous, honestly.
Dude, I wanted to predict a shutout. I really did, because I was looking at their stats and I was like, they're garbage. Ugh.
Yeah.
But I'll give them a free touchdown, because that's probably what will happen.
See, in my mind, I was just thinking 3 field goals, but they might not even get the 3 field goals.
Yeah,
I maybe should have said 33-6 instead of 33-9.
Yeah.
All right. Well, hit us with the weather report.
All right. Well, it's gonna be pretty mild weather. 57 degrees. Northeast winds at 4 miles per hour. Nothing crazy. No crazy cloud coverage. No chance of precipitation. It's gonna be a Wisconsin football game, baby. We're gonna run the damn ball. We're going to tell you we're going to run the ball. We're going to run the ball some more, and then we're going to sack your quarterback. Welcome to Wisconsin. That's what we do.
All right. Do you have anything else Badgers football before we run through the Bucks?
No, sir. Let's talk about the Bucks that everybody's freaking out about, even though we're not 10 games in.
Yeah. So I will, I'm just going to run through the games really quick and give basically like the highlights. And then, Jake, I'll get your thoughts, and we'll talk about it, and then we'll move on. That's basically what we're going to do with the Bucks, because they're in this situation that they're in where they're not fully healthy. They're not even close to fully healthy. Honestly, they're 40% healthy if you look at the starters that they're missing 3 of right now. And the Minnesota game, D'Angelo Russell got off to a hot start, and the pick-and-roll defense needs work. Giannis finished with 40, 16, 7, 3 blocks. And was 3 for 6 on threes. Middleton, 16, 5 and 5. Grayson Allen at 13 points. And the team shot 14 of 51, which is about 25% on 3-pointers. So I'm going to come back to that. Isaac's getting a little ahead of me. He's jumping ahead to the Detroit game, talking about Giannis's comments. So that Minnesota game, no Drew, no Brooke. Bobby was back, but the San Antonio game, Grayson Allen was showing he's got some drive and dish abilities. He hit Giannis cutting to the basket for a nice dunk. It was the second game in a row where it let one guy control the first quarter. And, I mean, the first half as a whole was really sloppy. And they still had the lead at halftime, but they played really sloppy to end the third quarter, and then they just didn't get back to the lead. DeJounte Murray scored 16 points in the fourth quarter out of his 23. Giannis, 28, 13, and 3 assists. Chris Middleton, 19, 5 and 5. And they were 10 for 39 on threes, which is about 25%. Going to talk about that again. Utah, their 3-point shooting was insane to start the first quarter. They made like their first 6 field goals, I think, and 5 of them were threes. And Justin Robinson, he played hard, and he got some bad foul calls. There was one, he was driving, or he was being driven on, caught an elbow to the face, and was called for a foul. Like, that was, it sucks, but, Justin Robinson's not getting calls over Donovan Mitchell and Mike Conley. Second one was Donovan Mitchell's dribbling the ball. Justin Robinson reaches in, pokes it away, gets nothing but the ball, and is called for a foul. It was just really early. Justin Robinson just getting some bad calls, but he stayed he stayed aggressive. He left it all out there, and Justin Robinson, for a guy who doesn't have a ton of NBA experience, is really leaving it all out there, and I respect him for that. The Bucks had the lead down to 4 with 1:37 seconds left. They just couldn't get over the hump. Donovan Mitchell was just too much. Giannis, 25, 7 rebounds, 6 assists, 2 blocks, 2 steals. Grayson Allen had 18 points in this game. They were without Brooke, Drew, and Chris Middleton, who tested positive for COVID. And they were 12 of 41 on threes, which is just over 25%. More on that again later. Now, the Detroit game this is funny because I made this parallel in my head, was that it seems to always be a Michigan team that is a get-right game for our teams.
I knew you were going to say that. I knew it the whole time. I was going to say the same thing. Hey, whenever your team's on a slump, just hope you play that professional team.
Play somebody from Michigan, yeah.
You'll be good to go, yeah.
Yep, the Badgers needed Eastern Michigan was a get-right game.
Yep.
The Detroit Lions were a get-right game for the Packers, and now the Pistons are a get-right game for the Packers. So
I knew you were going to say that.
You just need a Michigan game. It's a team from Michigan to have a get-right game. So the defense was rallying to the ball early, so that was encouraging to see. Bobby Portis just could not get a shot to fall in that first half, but he eventually did. Giannis is really flexing his court vision, like really flexing it. He was getting double teamed a lot, and he was finding guys open for threes, for layups, which credit to Thanasis. I don't think he ever stands still. Like, once he steps on the court, like, I don't think he stops moving, like, ever. And his size, but also being fast and strong, gives the Bucks a lot of flexibility on defense, because he is a little bit undersized, but he's tenacious. So it doesn't matter who he's going against. He will defend with physicality. And that's what I love about Thanasis, is that he gives 150% effort 100% of the time. So this game, Giannis just casually hits a walk-up 3 with 20 seconds left on the shot clock.
Yeah,
just because, that was right after the Pistons hit a 3. So the Pistons hit a 3. Giannis gets the inbound, walks up, pulls the 3 with 17 seconds left on the shot clock, and cashes it.
Yeah, dude, his jumper's looking a lot better.
Okay, so Giannis is... And he's got confidence in it. So if Giannis has confidence in something that he's doing, you can rest assured that it's going to go well.
Yep.
So Giannis finished this game 28, 8 rebounds, 9 assists, 4 blocks. Pat Connaughton and Jordan Nwora both had 16 points. And the Bucks finished 17 of 37 on threes, just under 46%. So they finally got that going. I texted you during the game, and I said, the Bucks role players need to start hitting threes.
Yep.
And that's Rodney Hood. That's Semi Ojeleye, who we're going to talk about in a minute here. That's Justin Robinson. That's George Hill. Grayson Allen he's getting there, but these role players, they got to start hitting their open threes, because, like I just mentioned, Giannis is showing off the court vision, and those guys are going to get those shots. They're going to be there. So I'll let you respond to Isaac's comment about Giannis's comments today, and then just a couple things that I want to mention about the Bucks. So,
well, that was funny. Giannis is like a corny funny. Like he made dad jokes.
He's dad joke funny.
Yeah, like he's like you hear him say a joke and you're just like, A grown man said that on purpose, huh? Okay, well, it is what it is. Yeah, you just laugh about it. You're like, he's just a goofball. So I wanted to just point out some of the things that I saw. I guess the 3-point shooting was definitely something that was a trend that was down. And last night, man, you talked about how he got doubled a lot. When I was watching that game, I was like, Giannis is like purposely dribbling into situations where he's going to get double teamed. So he knows somebody's going to get open.
Dude, he talks about that all the time. That doing the regular season, that's when he does all of the things that he wants to be better at. So he probably is putting himself in those situations on purpose.
He's like, you know what? I'm going to force him to play me like this, so I have to shoot that jump shot.
I'm going to dribble toward. There's 2 guys in front of me. I'm still dribbling towards the baseline.
I'm like, what kind of maniac are you, man? But, dude, Giannis, dude. I just wanted to touch on the jumper. The thing about the jumper that we were so excited about is it doesn't look so herky-jerky, and the elbow's not out here. And
it doesn't look robotic.
It's one motion, right?
Yes.
Now, the next step for him to get an actual jumper is the consistency, right? So once he shoots that 1,000 times in the game, that fadeaway first of all, that guy fouled the shit out of him on that one. You're not stopping that, okay? When Giannis shoots a fadeaway on the baseline, you're not stopping it. You basically just stand there, just like when Kevin Durant does it, right? You stand there, and if you hope to God it doesn't go in. Durant, definitely. With Giannis, you're kind of like, I like my chances because he's not dunking on my face. But I heard Jalen Rose did it, and he does his show. It's called Jalen and Jacoby. It's one of the afternoon shows on ESPN. And I was cleaning up my notes, and I heard Jalen Rose, and he said Giannis is the best player in the NBA. And I was like, okay, I'm intrigued. As a Bucks fan, obviously. He said, name another guy that could come down, do a dribble pull-up 3 like you said. He could pass the ball like he does. He could block 4 shots like he does. And then when the team's up 30, he's still going in the game. He still wants to keep going in the game.
To go play point guard.
Yeah, he's like, this guy, LeBron, he's like, I see LeBron in year 19. I see Kevin Durant who could shoot from any parking lot in America. He's like, but all those guys are sitting out when they're up by 30. Even if their team was struggling, they lost 3 in a row. LeBron's sitting out. Kevin Durant is sitting out. Giannis is like, no, I'm the leader of this team. We're going to play 48 minutes. We're going to dominate. And then you know what? We're going back to that Wisconsin mindset. We're going to do it again. And then we're going to do it again. And we're going to do it again. Now, the only thing with the Bucks is just like the Packers, just get healthy.
Yep.
COVID-19 is definitely a trend, a sad trend right now in Wisconsin. Got Chris Middleton. It's really, really taking apart the Packers roster one by one right now. So I hope they can just survive that. We'll get into that tomorrow. But, no Brooke and no Bobby. I was trying to look up when they're coming back, but all I got was it said they're going to miss the next couple of games.
What I saw was Drew will be back soon, and there's no timetable for Brooke.
And with back injuries, kind of like with Z, it's like it's hard to tell, man.
Especially when he's 34 years old. So
yeah, and he's been wearing that special back brace for how long now? So I don't know what's going to happen, but all I know is Brook Lopez is very important to us. About the bench, man. First of all, I would like to say they lost all 3 of those games because of one reason. No paint protection. Absolutely no paint protection. The guards can go in there, and they're not scared. The only person they have to worry about is Giannis. And when he's out of the game, who else is blocking shots? People can contest.
That's where people saying that we can just get rid of Brooke without bringing in another rim protector. That's where that parallel ends. That's why we talked about it last week, where we talked about guys that can protect the rim, elite on defense, and space the floor. Yeah. So for me, the only other guy that is even remotely realistic that can play that role is Miles Turner. Yeah. We're not getting Anthony Davis, obviously. So the only other guy that can really play that role of floor spacing and interior defense is Miles Turner.
Well, when you
he remains at the top of my list.
Into account. Yeah, if you take usage rate into account, they're the exact same player. One's just younger. That's the only difference, really. But man, no paint protection. It was really, really. I was getting pissed watching these games, man. I'm like, bro, these dudes can do whatever they want. They can mix these guards up however they want. and everybody's dogging George Hill and, Grayson Allen. And I'm like, dude, it's hard to play defense right now because usually, our defense philosophy is, okay, we could push them to Brook. We could push them to Giannis, and we'll just stay out on the three and we'll contest that. They give up the corner three at an alarming rate all the time, which is annoying. But if you have to give up something, you're going to have to give up something. You can't guard the whole court for 48 minutes every night. Right. So, having no Brook is really, really hurting us. And I wanted to give some love to my man G Hill. I think he's doing a great job. In that game against the Jazz, I feel like the Bucks got worked on a little bit. It was never really a close game. George Hill was the only player that was positive plus-minus for the entire Bucks team. He was +7. And my key to the Spurs game, only 4 players on the Bucks went to the free throw line. Do you know how ridiculous that is? That's terrible. And 2 were on the bench. That can't happen. Absolutely cannot. You got to spread the wealth. You got to attack. You got to shoot threes. You got to be even. The Bucks just didn't play good basketball last week. It is what it is. They're dealing with stuff. Like I said, how many times? We're not even 10 games into the season, so I'm not really stressing. We got plenty of time to get things right.
The sky is not falling.
Yeah, and settle down, Chicken Littles out there. We got to relax here. Everybody's going to clown us because we're the defending champs, but we saw last year. We said it how many times. The Bucks go through experiment games all the time. So, this is nothing new. This is just our early experiment games. The Bucks will still be a top 3 seed in the East, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yep.
The Heat just replaced the Sixers. That's it.
That's fair. So we're just gonna throw out a couple things out there, and we'll probably be more in depth with the Bucks next week. We'll start focusing more on individual things and team situations as opposed to looking at results of games, win losses, because that's what we have to do right now. The injuries are everywhere, and they're, like I said, they're through 60% of the starting lineup, plus one of our main bench, who would be one of our main bench guys in Dante DiVincenzo, so we still don't have him. One guy I want to talk about is Semi Ojeleye, because he's just starting. He's just starting to find his role with the team. Semi Ojeleye is not 10 games in. Semi Ojeleye is 3 games in and does not have a defined role on this team like a Bobby Portis does or like a Pat Connaughton does. Semi is new to the team. He's a 3-and-D guy. He's just starting with a new team. Give him a chance to find his role with the team. It's going to give him a little bit of time. Yeah. And then the last guy that I want to talk about before we bring in Mike and Brennan is Pat Connaughton. Pat Connaughton. We said this whole bunch last year. We said it all throughout the playoffs, all through the finals. I mentioned it last week already because people still don't respect how important Pat Connaughton is to this team.
Dude, Pat Connaughton's a G, bro, and people need to start putting some respect on him.
He's fully embracing the 3-and-D role. He's canning 3-pointers like crazy. He switched on to Kelly Olynyk a couple times in that Detroit game, and he's really, really, really embracing the 3-and-D role. We talked about how he's improving as a finisher. He's really doing everything that he can to help the team. And so is Jordan Nwora. He was interviewed after yesterday's game that he's doing everything the team is asking him to and trying to contribute in any way that he can. So Giannis said that he joked after the win last night that he thought the Bucks were tanking for the number 1 pick. So obviously they're aware of their slow start and they're not concerned about it. Championships are won in June, in July, not in October. So calm down, Bucks fans. Let the Bulls fans puff their chest about having the best record heading into November, and we'll talk about who's winning the championship at the end of the year.
Yeah, you guys can have the division title. I'm A-okay with that. I would like to go for the big boy trophy. That's what I like.
All right, so we are going to welcome in some guests, and we are going to talk college basketball now. So we're gonna welcome in Mike and Brennan, and we're going to talk.
Let's go!
All right,
what's going on, guys?
How's it going?
All right, so we have a lot of topics to discuss. Showing off all the Badgers love. Jake's the odd man out, rocking the Parker Johns gear, but that's for a good reason. So
sponsors, baby.
All right, so we have a lot of things to talk about.
Yeah, you gotta do what you gotta do.
We're gonna talk about key departures. We're gonna talk about returning players, new recruits, transfers, pick a team MVP, and give a record prediction. So we're gonna jump right in, and we'll kick it to Mike and Brennan. You guys want to do rock paper scissors to see who goes first?
Yo, let's go.
All right.
Let's go age before beauty.
Let's.
All right, fine.
All right, so let's talk about the departures first, and let's talk about the guys who are leaving the team first.
Yeah, I mean, you look at guys that are no longer going to be with Wisconsin this year. You got guys like Dimitri Trice, Liam Ford, Micah Potter, Trevor Anderson, Nate Reavers, along other guys that left via transfer portal that weren't seniors. And you started off at Dimitri Trice. He was kind of your lead guard last year, the guy that looked to create everything primarily for Wisconsin. You know, how do you replace a guy like that? 112 games played over his career, including 77 starts, which is, you know, a lot of games to replace, a lot of experience to replace, but just through one guy. I mean, you look at Nate Reavers, 80 starts over his career for 93 games total. Micah Potter played in, 80 games. Liam Ford was 95 games in his career with Wisconsin, and Trevor Anderson 39 games with Wisconsin over the course of his career. So that's a lot of stuff to have to replace for the Badgers, and it's going to be an interesting season, I believe.
Yeah, and I'm reading articles about it. That's 67.9% of your made field goals. That's 66.9% of your scoring and 65% of your block shots from last year, leaving in basically most of your starting lineup and your main bench guy. So, Mike, I don't know if you have anything to add about the departures at all.
With the expectations that, I personally had last year with this team, and I think, any Badger fan who paid close attention to this team, they had ultimate high expectations for this senior class. You look at, what you just said with the statistics, it's going to be tough losses this year. However, I am fully embracing, what we're going into this year. I would tell Badger fans, you got to be open-minded, especially to start this year, because there's definitely going to be some bumps in the road. However, just watching, the exhibition game, last week against, my alma mater of Whitewater, there was not everything was perfect by any means. However, there's definitely some bright spots that I'm personally looking forward to. The senior class was great. Don't get me wrong that, making the tournament, winning a game, that's great. They still, had an okay season. However, by my expectations, I didn't necessarily like that, but they represented the university, with the utmost class. It was unfortunate, whether if you want to talk about like the Alondo, supposedly.
I was going to ask you about that after the departures. So, yes, we will get into that a little bit.
I mean, just like with how it ended, it was disappointing, yes. I guess you could say they had an okay season, maybe a little above average, a little above average. But just with how everything ended with the whole recording and all that too, I'm personally ready to embrace this new season. So I'll definitely, go off of that and take it from there.
It definitely has that clean slate feel, in my opinion. We came in the last year, you mentioned it. We had all the expectations because they got super hot the year before. And then there was no tournament, and CBS Sports was predicting us to win the title. So then we're coming back, and we're like, oh, man, we're going to get back, because, Frank and Sam couldn't deliver for us. That sucked. Screw Duke, by the way. I really wish I could flick off, but we're trying to be a family-friendly show here. But, I mean, we came in all those expectations, and then they kind of just shit the bed, to be
ranked top 5.
I totally agree.
Yeah, they just shit the bed.
Especially coming off of...
Yeah, right. Go
Especially
ahead.
coming off of winning a conference title. So it's one of those things where you win that conference title after starting the year out subpar, you get things rolling, and obviously COVID hits and the tournament doesn't happen. And then, like you said, with them being predicted or projected to win, the NCAA tournament through a computer simulation, which I feel like this happens constantly to Wisconsin sports, where those are always projected to overachieve. I mean, you look at, not to switch topics, but like the hype around Graham Mertz when he got on campus. He goes and dominates a Senior Bowl and this and that, and he's going to do this, and he's changing everything. So
the Illinois game too.
Right. What I'm getting at is like where it's those expectations are always high because your fan base sees that and they go, oh, wow, we've got all this coming back, which, I mean, great. They won an NCAA tournament game, all that. But when you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 guys in your senior class that played, almost 500 games in their career combined, you got to do more than just win that one NCAA tournament game, in my opinion. But
yeah, I mean, they lost to Baylor, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Correct.
If they won the title.
Davian Mitchell.
Just to piggyback off of like what Brennan said, for me last season, I don't want to say what the turning point was. Like that game when we lost to Marquette, kind of like in December there, like that was a heartbreaker. We had no business, losing that game, in my opinion. But that just was like the start of like just being just average all year. I mean, you look even at our Big Ten conference record, I think we ended up like 10-10, something like that. And it was literally every single loss was against the teams that were above us, and the only teams that we beat were below us. So that's like just like pinpoint mediocrity right there.
Talk about being in the worst possible spot, dude. You're basically a no man's land at that point. You're not good, you're not bad.
It was total mediocrity.
You're the best of the worst. Like
nobody wants to be that.
Or you're the worst of the best. I mean, you're in a really weird position. And honestly, this
also
is kind of some foreshadowing, but that's where I see them this year. But Mike started to touch on it, and with the Alondo Tucker situation, the only guys that really dealt with that are Brad Davison and Jonathan Davis. I mean, there's some other returning guys, but as far as key players are concerned and the players that were involved in that, I mean, those are the only 2 guys that really dealt with a lot of that. This team is going to be really, really young freshmen and sophomores playing a lot of time. So I don't know if you guys are at all worried about the Alondo Tucker situation, basically trying to force himself into Greg Gard's job with Barry Alvarez, and then as the AD transitioned, trying to, force his hand to get somebody in there that he preferred, that thought would put him in that head coaching role. So with that whole situation, in mind, does any of that concern you heading into this season?
I mean, I'll go first here real quick. So personally, sorry, Brennan, my bad. You get the next
You're
one.
Good. You're good.
Personally, at first, when it first came out, like, I guess I didn't understand necessarily like how like the locker room works, so to speak. I mean, these conversations to mine, like, and as I keep looking into it, like those conversations do happen more often than none in a D1 program. It's like kids like accepting like what like the situation at hand, if something's not going right, and like how to deal with adversity. Stuff like it does happen in D1 programs. This was definitely not, how it should have been handled on Coach Tucker's part, I guess, and that's what it's alluding to. As far as it hurting the recruiting at first, and when it first came out, I could see it hurting maybe a little bit, just depending, like, you just take like some Minnesota kids that are getting recruited by Wisconsin, asking like the kids that are on the team, like, hey, what's going on with the situation? Like getting like their sort of feedback too, and just like taking it as, okay, well, I don't want to deal with this coaching staff, going forward. But, as like the days went on and just like reading more into it and like what was really going on behind the scenes, I'm feeling a lot more comfortable now with not so much affecting like the recruiting side of it. At first I did a little, but now I still think Gard is going to get his guys that he wants specifically, and his assistants. I mean, having Coach Krabenhoff is definitely huge help. He's helped bring in like a lot of, the guys that are on this team now. And I think going forward, we're going to be in a better position. I mean, there's a reason why Brad Davison is back too. I mean, if the situation was absolutely out of control, I wouldn't necessarily see him back this year. Even potentially Johnny Davis or even Tyler Wall too. So I think there's definitely, I think it might not be completely like healed, so to speak. However, I think there's definitely progression.
Yeah, like Jake said too, he really feels like a clean slate this year. Go ahead, Brennan.
Yeah,
I would agree with that. I agree with what Jake said in terms of like the clean slate aspect of it. You kind of flush that out by obviously getting Tucker out, and a lot of that senior class leaving as well. So I mean, you look at that. I don't think it's going to play as much of a factor this season. Obviously, so moving forward, I think it's flushed itself out of the program, so to speak, for the most part.
All right, so we'll let Brennan go first for returning players, and we'll talk about basically Brad Davison, Tyler Wall, obviously Jonathan Davis, a guy like Ben Carlson, and then a guy like Lauren Bauman Jr. So Brennan, looking at those returning players, just touch on those guys, and then give one that you're looking to watch this season.
Obviously, I think everybody's kind of excited about Johnny Davis, obviously coming off of that U19 USA Gold run this past summer. Obviously, I'm excited to see that. I'm more excited in seeing because obviously Johnny's going to be one of your go-to guys. I'm more intrigued by the Tyler Wall growth personally. Because, I mean, you look at his stats last year, they don't pop off the page at you. 5.2.
You watch his games, though? Oh, I fell in love with Tyler Wall last year.
He affects so much more than scoring and rebounding. Like, I literally, in my notes, next to his name, have Swiss Army knife written down because he does a little bit of everything. He's not overly great at one thing, but he's just really good at everything. And you need those guys on every roster, especially for a team that doesn't have a lot of size this year. Tyler Wall comes in at 6'9", so he can guard multiple positions. Like I said, he's literally your Swiss Army knife, and you're seeing basketball as it kind of progresses more into positionless. He's one of those guys. I think that's the big key for Wisconsin this year. I mean, you look at his production last year in 18 starts. He played in all 31 games, started 18 games for Wisconsin. He got better as that year went on, averaging almost 25 minutes a night.
You can see it.
Right. Oh, he got more comfortable, and he just it took off from there.
I love the hustle that he plays with. So if that's your guy that you're looking to watch, I love that pick. So
Mike, Tyler Wall is definitely my guy.
Yeah, Mike, who are you looking for out of these guys? If there's anything you want to add.
I mean, the two things that I wrote down, Brennan hit positionless and, Swiss Army knife, actually. So, I mean, the top three guys that everybody knows for the most part, Tyler Wall, he's a glue guy for sure. Positionless. He can guard so many spots if need be. So he's going to be averaging, probably close to that 30-minute range a game for sure. Easily. Brad Davison, who everyone calls like the oldest guy in college basketball. Well, shout out to Wisconsin. We got Mr. Bohannon over there at Iowa, who's probably a year or two older than him. So yeah, I'm pretty sure Brad is a teenager compared to that guy. So. But no, I mean, I think he's going to stay on the floor as much as possible. I think Johnny Davis personally is the best player on that team. However, I think Brad Davison is the most important player, if that makes sense, because in terms of a leadership perspective, and just getting guys like Tyler and Johnny ready to, take over the team after he's gone. I just think from a leadership perspective, he's got to be there. He's going to be there from start to finish with that. So I think he's still the most important, so to speak. I think Johnny Davis, statistically is going to take a huge step though, too. Brennan touched on it earlier with the whole Team USA concept. And you're reading articles too, leading up into the season, like how much, whether that's like a step up he's taken since he's gotten back from that, from a leadership standpoint and from getting more intense workouts in to prepare for the season. I think Johnny Davis for sure is going to, he's gonna have to have a huge year in order for us to be relevant in the Big Ten and even in college basketball in general.
I am calling all aboard. I have been the conductor of the Johnny Davis hype train since like midway through last year. So all aboard the Jonathan Davis hype train. So he's definitely my pick of these guys to watch for. You guys kind of touched on the Team USA aspect of it. Greg Gard talked about him, that he's got a different mindset since he's been back. He's got more swagger, more confidence, and he knows that he's going to be an intricate part of the team this year. So he's aware of the opportunity that he's going to have, and that's, for me, what makes him the player to watch, is the opportunity that he's going to have to be the guy. That's something we talked about a lot last year, was that the Badgers, they had a lot of good guys, but they didn't have a guy. I mean, it was Demetric Trice at times. Like, he almost willed them back in the Illinois game last year.
That was crazy.
But, it just felt like they didn't have a go-to guy. They just had a lot of role player guys, but no star player.
Correct.
And out of those guys, I think Jonathan Davis is the guy to watch. So he is my guy to watch out of the returning players. Jake, who is yours?
Okay, so I'm just going to hit because we're all talking about the same guys, right? So Jonathan Davis, the thing that I'm looking for from him is ability to control the game. He's still a young guy. He's still only a sophomore. He's going to be coming off that emotional high being on the USA team. That's got to be crazy for a 19-year-old kid, dude. Like, I'd be puffing my chest and be the cockiest kid in school if I was on the USA team and won a gold medal, So he's got to learn to control all that. And when he's asked to score a bucket, really last year he would just drive, do a little jump stop, maybe a little 8-foot jumper, or he would just try to, finish in the lane. I want to see if he added some moves, a little stop and pop jumper, a 3-point shot would be nice, an off the screen jumper would be nice. There's a lot of things that it can do. Tyler Wall, the only thing I want him to do is become a more consistent 3-point shooter. That is literally it. I don't need him to score 25 a game. He is your lunch pail guy. He grabs rebounds. He dives on the floor. He boxes out the center. He steals the ball from the point guard. He does everything. The only thing I need him to do is be more consistent with that stand still 3-point shot. He gets that down, he'll be an amazing, amazing role player in college basketball. We got a lot of interesting pieces, when we talk about the additions on this team. I was watching some highlight tapes, some interviews. I mean, we got some interesting guys, man. Got some interesting players. The Badgers are going to be kind of weird this year. I'm excited for them, but it could also be bad. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's how I feel.
I feel like it's going to be it's going to be fun to watch, and I think they're going to get off to a good start record-wise because they play some of these lower major teams, and it's going to create some the Badgers are 6-1. Why aren't people talking about them more? But then it's also going to be they're fun to watch on the floor, but they're going to have, like Brennan just said, growing pains, and it's going to show in the record at the end of the season that they've gone through those growing pains. So let's talk about recruiting, and we'll let Mike go first this time. So basically the 4 main guys that I looked at were Chucky Hepburn, Marcus Ilver, Chris Hodges, and Matthew Morse. So out of those guys, any other guys you want to add, bring up, elaborate on, and then pick one of those guys that you're looking forward to this year.
Talk about Morse. That's my favorite one. I like him.
Do you mean Ben Brust? Is that what you meant?
No, Matthew Morse, dude. That guy's going to be a stud. I'm telling you right now.
That's who he is. He's Ben Brust. That's who he is.
All right, Mike,
Yeah,
give us your take.
Okay. Crap. Tyler, I'm sorry. I'm getting cut out a little bit here on my.
Oh. All right. Can you still hear us, Brennan?
Yes.
Okay. Why don't you give us yours on the recruits then?
Yeah, go ahead.
The one I'm probably most excited for, as should I think everybody, I'm a huge fan of Chucky Hepburn. Because he reminds me a lot of Antonio Williams, a former Wisconsin commit for football, because he talked up Wisconsin so much in his recruiting process. And he really, through that, we talked about the Orlando Tucker situation, he really came out on social media and was just like, I don't care. This is my guy. These are my guys. I'm going here. And not only that, he's damn good. And he's coming in as a true freshman. He's 6'2", 210. He's huge. He's a big body guard for being that young. won a state title in Nebraska this past year. So I'm really on the Chucky Hepburn train. But I mean, you can't go wrong with Moores or Ilver. Ilver really is the guy that's really kind of grown lately, or the latest. He's the 6'8" shooter from Estonia, but found his way to America, and he was playing high school ball on the East Coast. So it's one of those. I think, to me, it's Hepburn, but I think all those guys eventually are going to find their niche and it'll be really good. And I mean, in my notes, I have Ben Carlson and Bowman as new arrivals because, yeah, sure, they were there last year, but
yeah, that's fair.
Bowman obviously with his personal matter where he was gone for the majority of the year, and then Carlson's injury last year. Because I mean, you look at Carlson, you have him playing full time last year. That adds another piece to that team, and are they better because of that? Probably. But to me, I think it's Hepburn followed by Carlson are the two that I'm the most excited for out of that group of really quote unquote new arrivals.
Hey, Chucky Hepburn is going to be a monster. And I know we just passed Halloween and everybody was watching Chucky, but this kid's upside is scary. I was ready for that dad joke. I was waiting for some.
Yeah.
Oh, it didn't work. Oh, damn it. He's going to be good. He's got a smooth mid-range jumper, dude. He's smooth, man. He can score. But, dude, that Matthew Morris, dude, he can bounce, bro. He's got ups. White boy with some ups, dude. He was doing putback slams like all day. I was like, oh, my God, this guy is a monster. But, dude, did you
read about him, Jake? Did you read about him?
No, I was just watching highlight videos, dude, and I was watching him dunking everybody.
He started playing varsity basketball in 7th grade.
That's just, dude, I hate those people, you know? I hate those people because they haven't played that long. And then they just like, you know what? I was going to go play basketball one day, and then they're just like D1 players. Like, screw you, guy. I tried really hard.
He started young, though, but his dad was the head basketball coach, and talking to his dad and other coaches that he started playing varsity basketball in 7th grade.
And now he's a D1 athlete. Screw that guy, man. But hey, welcome to the
All right, Mike, who are you looking forward to out of the recruits?
Yeah, so I think you definitely start with Chucky Hepburn. I mean, watching them against last week against Whitewater, there's no doubt about it. I think if he doesn't eventually crack the starting rotation, he's the number 1 or 2 guy off the bench. What I love about him personally is his aggressiveness on defense. He was getting in dudes' faces. Like the one thing that I think he may struggle with at the beginning of the year is getting in foul trouble with being a little too aggressive on guys.
Yep.
But that's correctable.
Yep.
So I loved watching him personally. He's also a pass first point guard, which is also good. However, if we need him to make a bucket, I think we will be able to rely on him. So he didn't start against Whitewater, but I think eventually, possibly midway through the season, if we need a true one to start, I think he's going to be the guy that's going to get the call. Body, he's definitely he's got the college body. He's going to be ready to go. Definitely looking forward to him. And actually, the other guy I was going to talk about was Marcus Ilver, because I don't know if you guys followed his whole recruitment at all, like how we landed him. I think for the most part, Sam Decker, believe it or not, it was involved with this. I mean, basically, he was working with overseas in Estonia. Decker was working at the NBA basketball without borders camp. And, he's those two were working at the same camp or whatever. And I think there was a little bit, once Decker saw this kid, I'm willing to bet he let Coach Gard know about the situation. I think it wasn't totally official, but I'm pretty sure there was a little bit that was
Sam Decker
that had
connection
to do with that, because this kid was also this kid was also recruited just on Zoom videos, with the whole COVID thing. He never visited campus. He never, got to the state of Wisconsin in general prior to his commitment. So I think Mr. Sam Decker had a little part to do with that, which is great. But he was a second true freshman off the bench last week. So I think, he's probably, I was writing this down, he was the 9th guy, I want to say, in the rotation. Behind, the 10th guy, I guess, behind Gilmore and the 2 transfers and Chucky. So he's also got the college body too. That, in my opinion, he's athletic. He can shoot 3.
6'8",
which is kind of 6'8", exactly. But he's got kind of he's got the college body that's ready. And I think he's going to be next in line out of those true freshmen if I had to pinpoint it. And I know we haven't mentioned his name yet, but he played very, very briefly last year. But I think we should bring up Stephen Crowell for sure. He had a game last week, I would say for sure. I think he dropped like 15 or something against Whitewater, and you can tell right away that I think I've said this on Twitter. I forget. I might have told this to Brennan. I see John Lure in him quite a bit. Actually,
you said that to us.
Yeah, that was to you.
Yeah,
I see a future John Lure personally in this kid. He's obviously got to get bigger, but he popped the three a couple times during the game last week. With Wisconsin offense, the big guys for the most part. If you're going to be like legit and stay with Wisconsin for 4 years, you better know how to shoot the three as a big man. So I'm looking forward to watching him play and watching him grow. I think he could be like a true dark horse in that starting five personally.
Okay. Yeah, you can go back really far with the big men shooting. You can go back to the Brian Butch and Mike Bruzewitz days of those guys shooting. You mentioned Krabenhoff, who's on the coaching staff now. I mean, there's tons of guys that have been those big shooting guys. So,
and I mean,
if Crowell could be one of those guys, that would be great.
Right, because while we're talking kind of, recruiting and we're talking big shooting, I literally read one on Twitter before I got on with you guys. Evan Flood had one. They hosted a big guy from Minnesota this past weekend. I forgot what his name is. He's 6'10", but he literally, one of the quotes I read was he really liked Wisconsin and likes the coaching staff because as a big, he feels like he can do what he wants. So agreed, it fits, kind of that mold where Crowell kind of looks into those past bigs at Wisconsin, but you see it throughout with all the recruits as well.
And we're going to get into some transfer guys here too, and he's a contrasting style to one of the transfers that they have coming in as far as the center position is concerned. So for me, my recruit to watch is Chucky Hepburn because I do think, like Mike touched on a little bit, I think he's going to get into the starting rotation. If not right away, but probably soon into the season. He was the player of the year in Nebraska, averaged 17 points, 6 assists, 4 rebounds, and 3 steals in his final season in high school. He's really an all-around player. He can shoot, he can handle the ball, he can pass, and he plays really tough defense. Greg Gard did touch on that he thinks he's going to have to learn the college game a little bit because he's not going to have the official respect as a freshman. So that's something that he's going to have to kind of go through a little bit as a freshman because he's going to play a lot of minutes. But he's 4 or 5 inches taller than Demetric Trice, so he's not as undersized at that point guard position. So if you're going to circle a matchup for Chucky Hepburn is to maybe keep an eye on Illinois and see what he can do against a guy like Kofi Coburn. So Jake, for the recruits, who's a guy that you're keeping an eye on?
I don't know why I fell in love with this Matthew Morris guy, but I did. Dude, I just kept watching. I don't know if it was the same video. I think it was different, but they kept showing this replay of missed shots, and he went up with 2 hands on another human being and went, wow. And I'm like, that'd be cool to watch on TV because I'm going to scream and wake up my daughter. That's what I'm looking for, baby. But no, for real though. No, he has some game, dude. He has good footwork, but he's just so bouncy. He has a nice little jumper. Like, dude, I think he's just one of those diamond in the rough kind of guys. You just got to scratch him off a little bit, and you got something special. That's really what I think. He's really, really underrated, dude. I really like him a lot. Chucky Hepburn. I mean, I watched a 15-minute and 41-second video on Chucky Hepburn just making mid-rangers and breaking people down with his dribble. He's going to be amazing. And watch one on Chris Hodges. He's a little bit rougher, but he is definitely a very good finisher down low. We clean up a little bit of that footwork, man, and he can be something down low.
He's very active on offensive rebounds.
Who was the twins that we had? No, there was one that went to Purdue and one that went to Wisconsin. They wore the goggles. I can't remember his name.
Landry?
Yeah, dude. It kind of reminded me of him because he's like long and he has the same haircut. I'm like, this guy kind of looks like Carl Landry is his name, right?
Yeah, Landry. Yeah, Carl is the Purdue and Marcus was the Wisconsin.
Oh, okay, yeah. That's what he looks like to me. He looks like one of the twins, and I was like, this guy, he's a good finisher. He's active. I just said, man, you polish up that footwork, you get him positioning the right way in college, and he's going to score a lot of buckets, man, because we run that motion offense. Just throw him the ball down low, let him do his thing.
Right. I mean, he's 6'10", 240, so, and that's before he steps on campus. So he's going to lose some of that size, I think, a little bit, but add it back in muscle. So he probably won't lose a ton of weight, but eventually he's going to be really, really solid.
If anybody needs to take some weight, Zion Williamson gained it all this offseason, eating all that New Orleans food.
Fair point.
Did you see what Chuck said about that? I'm sorry, I have to say this. Did you see what Chuck said about that? He said Zion looks like me and Shaq had a baby.
I am looking up this clip after we're done.
I was like, no, bro.
Let's talk about transfers. Mike, we'll let you go first this time. The three guys that I saw were Jacoby Neath, Chris Vogt, and Isaac Lindsey. So talk about those guys, elaborate on them, and then give me one that you're looking forward to keeping an eye on this year.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously with like this whole new transfer portal, right? Like we had to be, it was definitely a new year for how we got these transfers. It was all through like Zoom video calls. It was all through film, and just to like put that into perspective. So I can only imagine how hard it was actually to get, some of these kids, on, coming to Wisconsin. I'll start with the walk-on. I'll start with Isaac Lindsey because he's got the Wisconsin background. I don't see him being much of a contributor this year. However, he's got, I think, with the COVID rule, he might actually have 4 years. He's a transfer.
Yeah. Last year did not count towards eligibility. So
okay, yeah. So I mean, he's got 4 years yet then with the program.
Yeah, that's why Davison is back.
Yep, that's true. So yeah, he's a transfer from UNLV. Basically, to my understanding, once that UNLV coach who has Wisconsin ties as well, he also left UNLV, the former head coach. I believe that's when, he transferred to Wisconsin as a walk-on. But from Mineral Point, from what I've seen, like on what he can do, he's like a sharpshooter, a 3-point shooter. So something to keep an eye on maybe in the future. However, I don't see him being much of a contributor this year. And as for the other two guys, they are definitely going to be in the rotation. When you look at a guy like Chris Vogt, who's like the 7-footer addition, he's going to be very helpful for when we play, the teams like Purdue and Illinois. Purdue, especially with they have those giants on that squad, and then you got
they're number 7 in the nation right now.
So I think it's going to be by committee for sure. Chris Vogt, I think, against those kinds of teams, he's going to get, maybe 20 minutes a game. And otherwise, he's going to be probably right around the 10 to 15 minute, mark, I would say, depending what kind of foul trouble we get in. But he's more so of a shot blocker. Might get a couple post moves in the middle, but he's not going to.
What I wrote down for him is that he's going to be in the restricted circle on both ends of the floor. That's where he operates. He's not the stretch the floor big man. He's this far away from the basket on both ends of the floor, and that's it. He's pretty decent at positioning his body, but he's going to be close to the basket at all times.
Yeah, correct. So I mean, he's going to be a good sub to come off the bench for us. We're definitely going to need him. Against those teams that have the size. So looking forward to what he can do. He's got experience. He's coming from a conference championship team at Cincinnati. So he's got, the hardware to go with it, I guess, so to speak, and he's got experience. So that's going to help. Then Jacoby Neath, Wake Forest transfer. Just watching him last week, he reminds me of, he's very athletic. He reminds me of like a Khalil Iverson athleticism, actually. I think he's potentially a better shooter too, but I think where he's going to stride offensively is actually in the post. Because, if you watch his film, on guys like that are around his size, he actually is pretty good in the post with getting buckets. So
he's not afraid of contact either.
Yeah, exactly. So I think he's comparable to a Khalil Iverson athleticism wise. And I think he's going to help us most offensively, in the post area. And he's going to be one of the first guys off the bench too.
Mm-hmm. He's shown good vision too. So that's an interesting thing. He's a 6'3" point guard, basically. So he's going to handle the ball. And I mean, it's just put it out there and see what happens. Honestly, with Wisconsin, I mean, Davison, Wall, and Davis are the only guys we know what their roles are, and everybody else, it's kind of going to be like put it out there and see what you got. So, Brennan, looking at transfer guys, what's a guy that you're looking for to keep an eye on?
To me, I have a boatload written down for not all of them. More so, I just have a ton written down for Vogue. You look, both he and Neath kind of saw their minutes per game last year drop. You look at Vogue as a junior, he averaged 11 and 6, shot 65% from the field on 28 minutes a night. Compared to his senior year where, he was 5 points a game, 3.5, almost, assists and a half per game. So he shows that he's a good passer as well. So I think, to me, it's Vogue for this year immediately. Neath, I believe, he's got 3 years of eligibility, I believe, after this year.
That sounds right.
So I think he's one to look at futuristically as a really good piece. But this year, to me, it's Volk. To kind of hit on Lindsley Yodes, to kind of piggyback off of that. He was a 3-star recruit out of high school, too. So it's not like he was a nobody unofficially. So it's one of those, I think he may be a guy that finds his way into the rotation 2-3 years down the line. But to me, this year, the transfer to look at is obviously Chris Volk. He's going to add, some leadership to a very young team. He's, a grad transfer and that whole thing. So he and Davison, being that age, are really going to be able to help some of these young guys hit the ground running, hopefully.
So I'm glad you mentioned Davison because I want to make a parallel really quick, and I want it to involve Isaac Lindsey. And the parallel that I want to make is, one, on the Packers, is Jordan Love to Aaron Rodgers. Every time Rodgers is off the field, Jordan Love is right next to him, listening to everything that he's talking about with his coaches to each other. The next one is on the Bucks, and that is Mamu talking to Brooke Lopez every time he's not on the floor. They're just soaking in everything they can from the veteran guys about every aspect of the game. And the guy that I want Isaac Lindsey to attach to is Brad Davison. Brad Davison has that experience. They're at the same position. They're similar sizes, similar skill sets. So every chance Isaac Lindsey gets, I would want him talking to Brad Davison to try to get that mental part of the game and just take away as much as he possibly can from Brad Davison.
How big is Isaac Lindsey? What's he?
6'4".
Yeah. He's
okay. I thought he was bigger.
Got decent size.
Yeah, 6'4" shooting guard. So,
okay.
All right, Jake, who out of those transfer guys are you looking for keeping an eye on?
So I had Jacoby Neath. He's a junior, came from Wake Forest. Wake Forest obviously is not a powerhouse, but they play in the ACC. So he played in a lot of tough road environments, North Carolina, Duke. I mean, he had to go on the road against some big-time recruits, and he had to play ball against some really good players, good coaches, and that's a pretty good basketball conference. ACC is a pretty good basketball conference. So for him to come from there, brings a leadership. Chris Vogt is just big. He's ginormous. He's kind of slow, kind of hard to watch. It was very hard for me to watch those highlights because he would catch the ball, it would stay right here, he would dunk it, and he'd run back on defense, and he'd do the same thing on defense. And I was like, hey, you need those guys. Those are not the highlight films that you want to watch.
He's
right?
the perfect contrast role.
He is, man. I enjoyed watching some of these highlights. He's dribbling, shooting from 40 feet away, splash. Yeah, talk shit to the crowd. That's what I want to see. There's both. He comes in, he grabs rebounds. He's big. He goes the other side. He dunks it. Big. Goes the other side. Big. That's all he is. He's just big. He's going to be great. But
Greg
Jacoby,
Stevens,
man. Hey, that's what he is, man. Jacoby Neath, man. I think Jacoby Neath's actually going to be huge for us, man. He handles the ball with under 3 minutes left in this game because he will turn that SOB over. But Jacoby Neath he's a good ball handler. He's a willing passer. He could shoot. And like I said, he has the experience in those big-time environments to go on the road and, know the right play, the right pass, the right shot. So I'm really looking forward to him, man.
All right, Brennan, give me your team MVP for this season.
I have it as a legitimate tie. I couldn't make a decision. It's a tie between Johnny Davis and Brad Davison. For Wisconsin to be successful, they need Johnny Davis to take that massive step. Because to me, I think they're going to go as far as he can take them. And then the only other reason I have Davison in there is obviously because it kind of goes hand in hand with Davis taking that next step, which, obviously with him coming off of that U19 gold, if Davison can help get those young guys in and running off the ground quick, that's only going to help Johnny Davis become that much better as well. So to me, the MVP, it's a tie between Johnny Davis and Brad Davison.
Mike, who's your team MVP?
Yeah, it's essentially the same thing. However, I'm going to still give it to, Johnny Davis, probably, if I had, gun to my head or whatever. But no, I mean, Brennan hit it on the head. If we're actually going to be legit this year, if we're going to make the tournament, if we're going to get remotely close to making a run in the Big Ten, I think, Johnny, he's got the accolades. He's definitely going to have all the eyes on him this year, though, too, for our team. But I mean, he's always, since his recruitment, that he's always said that he's been under recruited like his whole time, even prior to committing to Wisconsin. He's always looking to like prove himself to everybody. So I'm thinking, this is like the time to do it. This is the perfect opportunity to do so. He got plenty of minutes last year. He averaged, I wrote this down, 25 minutes a game. And that's, being the first guy off the bench. So he's got the experience. I wish he could have even got more opportunities last year when he was on the court, because he was clearly the most athletic. But this year he's basically, Brad's got the keys to the Lambo, but Johnny's right there with him in the passenger seat for sure. So I think in order for Wisconsin to be even remotely relevant this year, if they want to try and take the next step, Johnny Davis has got to be the MVP for sure.
All right, Jake, who's your team MVP?
Jonathan Davis and his new leg tattoo. That's all I got.
All right, so for me, I also have Jonathan Davis. I think Brad Davison's role is kind of defined. He's going to be a three-point guy. He's an effort guy. I think his role is kind of defined. I see so much opportunity for Davis with 4 of the Badgers' top 7 scorers having left the program now. I just think his opportunity is just massive, and I think Davison's role is kind of already set. And it's going to be similar to what it has been the last 3 years. So that's for me why I'm going to go with Jonathan Davis. But last thing, Mike, give us a record prediction. What do you think the Badgers are going to do this year?
All right, yeah. So I was going back and forth with this right before we started here. So I'll start in the Big Ten. I think we're going to go 9-11 in the Big Ten. Just looking at the schedule, I was looking at it right before we got here. We only get Michigan once. We only get Illinois once, Michigan only once, so that's good. We do get Purdue twice. We get Michigan State twice.
Yep.
Ohio State only once, I believe.
I think I saw Ohio State twice.
Or it is twice. You're right. Yep, there it is. But I don't know. Michigan. You hear about the Big Ten this year.
It's tough.
Michigan, Illinois. We get Michigan at home too, and it's at the end of the year. And if usually even an average Wisconsin basketball team can upset somebody at least once at the Kohl Center at home. So I'm just taking that all into effect. I do think we're going to have plenty of growing pains this year. I do think overall our shooting is not going to be as good. I hope I am dead wrong on that, but I think our 3-point shooting potentially could struggle a little bit. I'm hoping for Jonathan Davis to take the next step from the outside because we're going to need it from him. But collectively, I think our shooting might be a little down this year. Taking that all into effect, I got 9-11 in the Big Ten, but I got 19-12 overall, and I think we sneak in as a 10 seed or an 11 seed play-in game in the tournament.
Dude, you were very close to mine. You are very close.
Dude, yeah, you're very close to mine too, because mine is also 19-12. I ran through the schedule. For me, it's really depending on all the young guys adjusting to the physicality of Big Ten basketball. So I also had 19-12. Brennan, what do you got for a record prediction?
You look at where they're preseason predicted in the Big Ten. They're predicted to finish 10th. And there's a lot of question marks, obviously, with all the new faces and all the returning guys having their roles kind of defined. To me, I somehow find them sneaking into the top half of the Big Ten. I'm not saying fourth or third or fifth, but I'm saying somewhere in that 8-7, maybe potentially 6 range, which squarely puts you into the NCAA tournament. Because to me, they're going to win some games they have no business winning, just because of the way they play. But they also have that potential to lose games they have no earthly business losing either. So I see them finishing somewhere in that 6, 7, 8 range in the Big Ten. 6 being, I think, top shelf, and then 7, 8 being, I think, to me, more realistic. And with that being said, I see them sneaking into the NCAA tournament somewhere in that 9, 10, 8 being the top shelf range, personally. So that's where I have them.
Okay, I'll give you mine. So I am 1 game better than Mike and Tyler. I have them splitting the Big Ten schedule again. I think 10-10 is feasible for this team. To go off Brennan, go off Mike, go off Tyler. They're going to win some games that they really shouldn't. They always do upset somebody at the Kohl Center, so I took that into consideration as well. I have them an overall record at 20-11. They will make the NCAA tournament because that's just what the Badgers do. And they'll probably win one and then lose in the round of 32 because that's, again, what Wisconsin does. So that's my outlook. Hopefully, we're going to take this year as a growing year, right? We got a lot of question marks going into this year. What is this guy going to do? What's this guy going to do? Did he improve here? I just want to see growth and consistent growth. I know I don't have expectations to win the NCAA tournament this year, but I would like to see at the end of the year that you're better than you were at the beginning of the year. So that is really my only goal for this team.
All right. You guys have anything else you want to throw out there for Badger basketball?
Yeah, I saw, with all those question marks too, I saw a little bit on Twitter as well that they kind of are going through an offensive, I wouldn't say full change, but they were throwing a lot more like ball screen continuity stuff in, which I think is really going to help a lot of their incoming new guys, because a lot of those guys were shown to be more play creators. So I think that'll help them tremendously moving forward.
That's good. We finally kicked the Mike McCarthy offense out of there, huh? So we finally
you'll still see
offense.
Some of it, I'm sure.
I know we will, and I'm not upset with that. But if you
over under on the Badgers, averaging 45 points a game this year.
Over.
I need to watch a few games.
It better be over, dude.
See, you were ready to commit to it.
Yeah, y'all are questioning. I was consistently over without doubting.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess we'll see. But I know one thing for sure. If Curtis does another pie bet, he's taking more pies to the grill, baby.
Yes, absolutely. When they play Iowa, I wouldn't mind betting that.
Let's go.
That would be fun. All right. Well, we want to thank you guys for joining the show. And if you enjoy the show, tomorrow you have a chance to see us live in Green Bay at the Green Bay Parker Johns. Tomorrow is going to be nothing but Packers discussion. We're going to be giving stuff away. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be informative. Jake and I have a lot of work to do to figure out exactly what's going to be going on this weekend against Kansas City. And we're going to talk a lot about the Packers tomorrow. So come and hang out with us tomorrow at the Green Bay Parker Johns, 6:30. Jake and I will be there, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So thank you guys for joining the show, and we will talk to you guys soon.
Thanks, boys.
Thank you.
Late.
Peace out.